Hi there, and good Monday morning to you. We're going to talk about PI, personal injury. You know, it can include any type of injury from traffic accident to a fall to an injury caused by a medical mistake. So if you've been injured, you'll need to know what your rights are under the law. Do you have a claim? Have you waited too long to file your claim? And should you accept a settlement from the insurance company? If you have a question about personal injury, it is your time to give us a call. The telephone number up on the screen, 803-442-4551. First, though, we want to tell you what's coming up on the docket the next several weeks. Next Sunday, crime and punishment as we work our way into April and Masters Weekend, scams and ripoffs. And then on April the 8th, we'll be fighting the insurance company. And returning from the Vic Hawk Law Firm is Vic Hawk. You were off last week celebrating with family.
That's right. My youngest son got married this last weekend, and we had the reception Sunday night, so I couldn't be here. So I missed everyone, but I heard Melissa did a great job.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to be back. Tonight we're going to be talking to you about accidents, whether they be slip and falls or auto accidents, and we're going to tell you why you should hire a trial lawyer. It's something that you'll have to make a decision about anytime you're in this kind of situation. We don't tell plumbers how to do their job, or electricians how to do their job, or engineers how to do their job, or doctors how to do their job. So it's very important that you understand that if you get in that situation, that you get a trial lawyer to help you out. And here are some of the reasons why. There are fights over liability, there are fights over damages, there are fights over coverage, there are fights over subrogations, interest between different companies. Tonight I brought on Reed Sanders to work with me since it's a late night show and we wanted to...
Come on in, Reed.
Yeah, come in with us, Reed. We wanted to discuss these topics tonight and not have a guest have to stay so late with us, but we're happy that you're with us. Reed, can you explain to our viewers first as to what happens if there's a dispute about who's responsible for the wreck or the injury involved? How can a trial lawyer help you out?
Sure. I think that the main thing you got to remember, and to start answering that question, is going to be a trial lawyer. Some people think that you need a trial lawyer when it goes to trial. You need a trial lawyer at the beginning, and the reason for that is to get it to trial and to be successful at trial, you got to do your work up front. And in a case where you have a liability issue and who's at fault, that means you got to get an investigator out there, you got to lock down people's statements, take pictures of the scenes, track marks, you know, even an accident reconstructionist. All those things, you know, are case specific, but all those things you need to do to be successful at trial. But you have to do those in the beginning, because if you wait until it's time to go to trial, those things are gone. That evidence is spoiled. So to answer that question is you got to have them up front.
Right. And see, our group, we have a full-time investigator who works on our staff, who goes out every day and helps us to establish who was at fault in the event there is a dispute. And we've had cases, many times, cases in which liability was a fight, and then as a result of the groundwork that Reed just talked about, we were able to establish liability. For example, we did an accident case where a guy was seriously injured, and the fight was who had the green light. And when the witnesses have disappeared from the scene, that's pretty hard to do when you have one side versus the other saying opposite things occurred. But what we did was we got a hold of the 911 tapes, and although the defendant during the course of the litigation said that he had the green light, when we listened to the 911 tape, he just said, "I just ran a red light and hit this guy." So there are a lot of things that we can do for you, and having a full-time investigator helps us to be able to establish liability. And as a trial lawyer, these cases are taken on a contingent fee basis, and so there's no upfront money that you have to pay to get the help you need.
And once again, we're taking your calls. The topic all about injuries, 803-442-4551, 442-4551. The telephone lines are open. How many different kinds of personal injury type cases, like someone watching at home, how would they know if they qualify for a personal injury case?
Well, as a practical matter, if you're injured, whether it be from a slip and fall that was not your fault. We see this with the elderly a lot. They'll go into different facilities and there's carpeting that has the exact same design on one level, and then there's steps that has the exact same design, and then there's another level. And the elderly are walking along and trying to do the best they can to avoid being injured, and then they're confronted with that kind of situation, and then they fall and break their hips. Well, in that event, it may very well be that the landowner knew about this problem before and made no attempt to warn their customers that this problem existed, that a person could look down and think that it's perfectly level in front of them. Then it could be a slip and fall, it could be an accident
Right.
case, product
A
liability.
lot of stuff that I see that is a big issue is that people just don't think that they have a claim. And I think you need to, if you are injured, especially, whether it be at somebody's home or whatever, you need to at least check into it to see if you can protect yourself. And you're not necessarily going to have to be taking money out of your friends or family's pockets. They have insurance coverage to help you on a problem like this. And that's not to always say that there is a claim, but if you're seriously injured, as an invitee, as a family member, whatever, there may be some coverage for you, and it's worth looking into.
We actually have a call related to statute of limitations. Barbara joins us from South Carolina. Barbara, thanks so much for staying up with us. How are you? Barbara? Well, I guess Barbara was involved in an accident at some point last year and says that reads she was not at fault. What's the statute of limitations in South Carolina or even Georgia for Georgia viewers? Is it too late to file a claim?
No, it shouldn't be. If it's Georgia, it's 2 years. And I believe in South Carolina, I don't practice in South Carolina, but in South Carolina, I believe it is 3 years. So if it's only, if the accident was in 2011, don't know the month, but she should still have plenty of time. But I would recommend speaking to a trial attorney immediately to go ahead and lock down some of those evidential problems. And then, be able to file a claim before it gets to a statute of limitation. Because a lot of times if you wait right before the statute runs, there's just not enough time to get a case prepared. So you won't, even though the statute says 3 years, you need to get it prepared way before then.
Good point. Barbara, are you there at all? No,
Can't hear.
don't have her. Okay, that's okay.
Well, hopefully that helped, Barbara.
Yeah, I think you definitely answered the question. Well, we're going to take a short break and take more of your phone calls at 803-442-4551. It's all about injuries on News 12 Law Call. Topic of personal injury. So how is the amount of an injury claim determined? Well, in tonight's legal brief, personal injury attorney Melissa Detch-Mendy explains the formula or the lack thereof.
There are many factors to consider in evaluating a personal injury claim, so beware of any formula an adjuster might try to sell you. The value of your claim will depend on the nature of your injuries and how your doctors expect you to fare in the future. How much have you already paid in medical bills, and how much might you have to pay in the future? How have your injuries affected your ability to work and carry on with your lifestyle? How much pain, suffering, and inconvenience have you had to endure as a result of your injuries? Pricing all these factors is complex, but don't let the insurance company decide that for you. Consult with an experienced attorney about what a fair settlement for your specific situation is likely to be. I'm attorney Melissa Detch-Mendy of the Vick Hall Law Firm. Back to you.
Thanks, Melissa. Well, a different category of getting hurt or being injured is workman's compensation. That's a question tonight from Timothy from Augusta. Timothy, good morning. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Good. If you can, turn down your television set if you can so we don't have any feedback. We understand you were hurt at your job. I guess, was this about a year ago?
About a year and a half, 2 years ago, yes.
Okay. What happened real briefly?
I was in training for the state prison, and I hurt my neck. 4 of the discs in my neck has slipped and deformed my spine to where I have numbness down my right arm and in my fingers.
Timothy,
And
when was the last time, Timothy, when was the last time you received any medical care for that injury?
I went to my last doctor's appointment last month,
Last month?
and I'm waiting on the neurosurgeon to call me back for another appointment and test.
Okay. Your last doctor's appointment was in March of last year?
think you said
Timothy?
last month.
Last month?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, you're fine. Generally, you have, Timothy, you have 1 year from the date of the payment of the last medical benefits, and then you have an additional extension is 2 years from the date of the payment of the last income benefit. So I think you're still in good shape, and you just need to contact a trial lawyer, workers' compensation trial lawyer, to get that filed. But I would stop messing around with it. If you got pain going down your shoulders, that's a common symptom of a person that has a serious problem with their neck, and you're being referred now to a neurosurgeon, which is a very common method of treatment or follow-up following a neck injury. They just don't refer you to a neurosurgeon because things are getting better for you. So I think you should get to a trial lawyer as soon as you can. One of the things, Reed, we wanted to talk about was, let's say, for example, there's no issue as to fault in a
Right,
wreck.
sure.
All right? And if we deal with an auto accident, explain to our viewers why it's so important to get to a trial lawyer, even though there's no issue. Why
Right.
should you hire
Yeah.
a lawyer and give away a portion of your claim by hiring the lawyer
Right.
when there's no issue as to who's at fault?
Right, and that's a very good point, very good question. And I think the answer to that is that first thing I want to say is you're not giving away anything as you're paying an attorney, a trial attorney, because they're getting a portion of the claim. The reason I say that is because the claim is going to increase because you have a good trial attorney, so you're not losing anything. But you need a trial attorney not just in when liability is an issue or who's at fault, but a trial attorney can also investigate and set up what the damages are going to be. Like I said before, you can get an accident reconstructionist out there to show how fast the cars were going, how much impact was done to the car, and how much force was done to your body inside the car. Especially with soft tissue type injuries, it's very hard to show a strain. If you get an x-ray, you can show a broken bone. But if you have a soft tissue, the insurance company is going to say, you're not hurt, there's no problem here. And you got to have a trial lawyer, somebody who can take it and present it to a jury in your favor and show that even though it's limited damage or whatever, that you have some serious injuries that may not show up on an x-ray.
Well, Carl apparently had a very harrowing experience driving. Carl from Augusta joins us. Carl, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Share with us exactly what happened. I understand this involved a truck and a kind of a very odd accident. Explain what happened.
Yeah, a truck, the box fell off the back of a truck, and the car that was in front of me swerved to miss the box, and we ended up hitting each other. Well, the insurance company of the truck that the box fell off of said that he wasn't at fault.
All right. Carl, in answer to your question, there are two good reasons that you should have a trial lawyer helping you with that particular problem. If they're saying they're not at fault, you need an investigator to work on your behalf through a trial attorney's office. In addition to that, because you have your vehicle involved, another car involved, and the truck involved, you may be able to reach insurance that you knew nothing about. A trial lawyer can help identify the liability coverage, stack liability coverage, stack uninsured motorist coverage in ways that you never dreamed about being able to do. So there's a lot of help that a trial lawyer can give to you in that circumstance. And especially with uninsured motorist coverage, if you don't watch out, you're going to lose that coverage because there's a little paragraph in the back of those uninsured motorist provisions that says if you didn't give notice within X amount of days, then we don't have to pay you. And in the kind of situation that you're talking about, they're denying liability. They can be denying it on legal grounds involving uninsured motorist coverage because there was no contact between the vehicles, the truck and your vehicle. And it's something that you really need some help on before you mess up.
And especially in that kind of case, when you have, like I said, more than two cars, everybody's going to be pointing at everybody else, and all the insurance are going to be they're going to say, you pay, you pay, you pay. So you really got to have somebody to straighten that out for you.
Insurance companies, I mean, they're in the business of not wanting to pay or limiting the exposure.
That's right.
So it makes good sense, I suppose, to really have an expert or expert team. to look into a situation, especially with a third party like that. Well, on the other side of the break, we're going to continue to talk about slip and falls and car accidents, insurance companies, product liability. If you've been sick after receiving a product that you purchased, your telephone calls are very much welcomed at 803-442-4551. This is News 12 Law Call. Well, thanks so much to Vic and Reed for coming on. Of course, they also have Melissa Detch-Mende in the office. In fact, there are 4 offices in the CSRA in Evans, Waynesboro, Thompson, and Augusta to serve you. The toll-free number, 800-392-5456. And we're returning to our topic about personal injuries. Of course, that can include car accidents, product liability, medical malpractice, slip and falls, and so much more. Again, with Reed Sanders and Vic Hawk, I'm Neil Gordon. The gavel joins us as well as always. You know, gentlemen, we've talked about some different car accidents and some problems that can, befall folks. What happens if there just is not enough insurance, either with your own policy or with the other person that you're involved in an accident with?
Neil, that's a good issue. You see it most often in serious accidents where they're in the hospital and their medical bills are $100,000 and God knows how long they're going to be out of work following the injuries that they've received. And then the person that caused these injuries in a wreck situation has $25,000 in coverage. So a trial lawyer can really help you in 2 ways. Number one, in a case similar to this, where a family was really desperate, they had $105,000 in medical bills after the first 3 days, and what we were able to do is stack the liability insurance to raise it up to $800,000, and then after that we were able to add some additional coverage that they had, so that she was able to get complete care there in the hospital, not trying to check you out of the hospital early. She was able to get the rehab that she needed and fairly compensated. But they would have never known how to look for that extra coverage or received it if they hadn't come to a trial lawyer for the help. Another situation would be where there's $100,000 in medical bills and there's only $25,000 in coverage. One of the ways that we talk about that we can help you that you never dreamed of is we negotiate the medical bills and compromise with the medical providers in such a way to make sure that the bills are paid and they're not harassing you for the rest of your life, and you receive some of the compensation available, whereas otherwise you would think it would just be completely gone and you're going to be having to deal with it for the rest of your life.
Take us behind the scenes a little bit. What are those negotiations like? I mean, are they? Is it a win-win? Can it be contentious? Look, we're going to go to court if we can't do this for our client. How does that sort of go?
Well, I think it's kind of it's not necessarily win-win, but it's a meeting in the middle.
Okay.
Because a lot of times, if you have the minimum coverage of $25,000 and you have $100,000 in bills, the doctors and the medical providers know they're not going to get anything. So if we can figure out a way to kind of balance the scales between all 3 parties, they're happy with that too. They're not as happy as they would have gotten the full bill paid, but it turns a situation where they may have gotten nothing, and then now they can get something. So, they do a good job with working with us, and it's contentious, but it's not heated.
Yeah,
let's say that.
They're professionals.
Yeah.
It's really good to work with the local medical community.
Absolutely.
They're professionals, and they realize that there's only X amount of dollars to go around.
Right.
And we try to protect our clients, and of course they try to protect their interests, but they're not foolish.
Right.
They're intelligent people.
Makes good sense. I guess we lost a caller who had called. I guess a young lady had driving under the influence charge, was taken to jail, and apparently broke her foot while in jail, and wanted to know, does she have any kind of case against that county?
Well, maybe, but that would be very difficult to prove. I think you'd have to show some kind of hazard that the county had, and if you are guilty of the DUI, then obviously you're probably intoxicated, and to show that that there was a hazard there is going to be extremely difficult. And to make it even worse, there's not going to be very much sympathy from any jury that's going to award you anything if you're breaking the laws. So.
Yeah. Well, they'd have to take care of a broken foot.
Right, absolutely,
They
absolutely.
give you medical care
Sure,
for that.
Sure,
but,
sure.
Sure, absolutely.
It wouldn't be a claim against the county.
Right, right.
We just have a few more minutes to go, so if you want to squeeze in the last call, you can at 803-442-4551. Actually have one from Lisa from Georgia. Lisa, how many, I guess you had a bad accident and had several surgeries, is that right?
Yes.
Walk us through real quick what happened and information you'd like to know about.
What I was calling about is to find out I was in a serious auto accident in 2009, and it messed me up as a passenger really bad. It messed up my neck, my shoulder. I have nerve damage all on my right side, all the way down to my numb toes. And they said that my T12 disc was messed up and my 4, 5th, and 6th L disc is messed up.
Yes.
And they immediately did surgery on my neck and put a plate in the 2 and 3 and 4 and on C2, 3, and 4.
Right.
And they wound up having to do 2 surgeries on my shoulder because my bicep tendon exploded in there after they thought they were going to be able to save it.
Did
So
this
I had to
happen?
go back in. Excuse me?
Yeah, Lisa, did this happen on the job?
No.
Okay. And was the other party at fault?
Yes.
Okay.
And
have
what
you
I was
not?
trying to find out is they want to know, they really want you to have all your surgeries and all before you go to court or trial
Sure.
or anything like that.
Right.
What if you can't have them all?
Yeah. Well, then, Lisa, you would present evidence at your trial from the medical doctors confirming that you need this future care. Now, you've already filed your claim, haven't you?
No, they have 3 years. It happened in North Carolina.
Okay. Okay. You would just go ahead and try to get all of the medical care that you can, but then push your trial counsel to get the trial as soon as possible and use the medical evidence about future medical care at your trial.
And one thing, Vic, on that too is that you can get it on a trial calendar. That doesn't mean it's necessarily going to trial that day. So you need to go ahead and file that claim. And even if you're still treating, the claim can be filed, and there's still time for you to continue treating. But you got to make sure it's filed before you lose it on the statute.
You need to move toward resolution.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, we've appreciated you staying up with us. Those of you who have, it's 1:45, time to go to sleep now. But if you haven't been able to get through, Vic or Reed would be happy to call you on the way home. Please join us next Sunday night. We'll take your questions about criminal law from arrest to trial to sentencing. Have a wonderful work week ahead. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for
Thanks.
calling.
Nice.